All right, and we are live in 10, 9, 8. All right, here we go.
All right, let's go.
I'm your host, Mimosa.
And co-host Kareem.
Welcome to Sometimes We're Boujee and Sometimes We Hood, to healing, navigating grief. It's a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance.
Hey. All right.
Hello, everyone. Afternoon. What's going on, cousin Kareem?
What's going on, Auntie Mimosa? How you doing today?
All is well. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Sometimes We're Boujee,
Sometime we hood.
a podcast dedicated to exploring the complex emotions of loss, the road to healing, and the strength found in remembrance. I'm your host, Auntie Mimosa.
Yep, I'm cousin Kareem.
And yes, and whether you're in the depths of grief or slowly learning to live with loss or supporting someone on their journey, this space is for you and for you. And grief is deeply personal. There's no timeline, no rule book. There's no right way, wrong way to navigate it. But through shared experiences, honest conversation, and moments of reflection, we can find comfort, understanding, and hope. Each episode will dive into the emotions that come with loss, anger, sadness, guilt, and acceptance, and talk with experts, survivors, and those who have walked this path of grief. And that's many of us. You are not alone in your grief, and together, we'll move forward, honoring the past while embracing the present. Today's episode is Finding Light, Support in Times of Grief. And we're diving into a deeply important topic of support in grief. When loss happens, support can feel like a lifeline, or sometimes like something that's missing. And we'll explore the real support, what real support looks like, and how to ask for it and how to offer it to others. Whether you're grieving yourself, walking beside someone who is, or just trying to better understand how to show up, this episode is for you. So take a deep breath, find a quiet space, and let's begin this journey toward healing, one conversation at a time. So let's talk, let's heal, and let's remember together. Ooh, so when we confront death, we often rediscover life. And mortality has a way of bringing focus into who you are in your life. And when we realize, like truly realize that life ends, it strips away a lot of the noise. And like suddenly the petty arguments, end of life, endless striving, fear of what others often think, it doesn't matter very much. It does not matter very much. Mortality shapes our vision. And sometimes people understand it, some people don't. And it makes it clear what we love the most. It draws our attention to who we want to be and
Mm.
not just what we want to achieve in life. It teaches us that some moments are too precious to delay. It also invites us to live deliberately rather than accidentally. Okay. Also, it's death is like a mirror and it holds up life and asks the question, if you know this doesn't last forever, how will you choose to live each day?
Yeah,
Go
it makes it finite. It makes it finite. I think that's what it is. Once somebody passes away, goes on, however, you realize that wait a minute, there's a time limit, there's an expiration date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people just go through life like carefree. I'm gonna just live day to day. I'm not gonna have any, worries or concerns. You know, let me ask you this: Does
Mm-hmm.
when you have read people like that, is it the people? I've noticed in the last like 2 years that the people who have no concern, those are the ones that don't have kids.
Mm.
It's both people who have kids and ones who don't. Like, 'cause I've never met anybody who has kids who just, well, except for those derelict parents, who don't give a damn. But the ones who want to be in their kid's life or have kids they concern about, care about, they live differently than the ones who are like, I don't got no kids. I got no, I just live with a spouse or by myself. And it's like they have a whole different outlook on life. But anyway, that's another topic. But anyway.
It is. It is. So, I want to take a quick minute to, acknowledge everyone that's coming in on TikTok. Thank you. I appreciate you for joining the live. Definitely, you know, give us some hearts here and, just taking the conversation. I do know, I'm sorry that some people do want to join the live. However, because I'm actually doing a live streaming, not just on TikTok, but also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Uh, Having someone else join the live on TikTok, you would have to mute your background. You have to mute your background because that feed is going to come across onto my live feed on other platforms. So, with that being said, I understand you may want to, come in. However, um, I have to keep it this way. I have to keep it this way. All right. So thank you, Raven. Thank you. Yes. All right. So give some loves, get these likes and these hearts going as well over here on TikTok land. Um, but yes. So here's another good question. Like, what do and this is a question to ask yourself about your end when you're thinking about ending, coming to the end of life. Like, what do you want to leave behind? And how do you want to live now? Like, you hear people often talk about leaving a legacy. Okay. That's a conversation that's huge, leaving legacies behind. But what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you, cousin Kareem? What does that mean to you, leaving a legacy?
I mean, like, I guess the caveat of what I was saying before is like having kids. Like, I truly believe what the word says that, you're supposed to leave an inheritance to your children's children, to your grandchildren.
Mm,
So for me, that's part of it. Having a name to live up to. If you want to carry on last names, whether you're a man or a female, I mean, there's a lot of people hyphenating their last names as women now too because they want to leave on a piece of their pops if they live and respect their pops. It's up
mm-hmm.
to them and the spouse. But I think that's part of it. Like, what does your name mean? I think in this day and age, you see people, the Vanderbilts, you know what I mean? Names like that
Mm-hmm.
that hold a kind of weight to it. Like, what do you want to make your name out to be? Do you want to
Right.
claim an industry? Do you want to claim some kind of charity or something good that you did? So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's what it means. It's just I want to leave an inheritance for my grandkids so they can help live on whatever I did. You
Right.
know.
You talking about inheritance. Okay. And I
Yeah.
know for myself, what do I want to leave behind? You talk about children. So I have the one son that is Deering, that's alive. And of course, at one point in time, when it came to thinking about my legacy and what I wanted to leave behind, I had everything set up for both Darius and Darian. And now that Darius is gone, everything is now set up to go to Darian without fail. So, and I also think about my whether or not grandchildren will come into play. Right now, Darian is like, Mom, I don't know if I'm gonna give you grandkids. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, ooh, I, I, I think about that. I'm like, come on, I would love to have a grandbaby. I'm trying to get uh, one of my good girlfriends on or to come in on TikTok. Um, so, but leaving a legacy is not, to me, it's not just about the material. It is also about memory, fond memories. It is about how you treat people and how people will remember you. Um, to me, that's important when it comes to like part of your legacy. Do you want to be remembered as this mean SOB that didn't do anything? Or do you want to be remembered as, you know, hey, that was Cousin Kareem. He would give you the shirt off his back. Okay. Um, and talking about legacy, like when Deej passed, and May is a hard month for me. Okay. And anyone who's lost a mom, aunt, sister, May is hard because of Mother's Day and because of Mother's Day. So, and then on top of that, Deej's memorial anniversary is this month,
Right.
you because his death anniversary is May 21. So, and speaking of, I will actually do when we go on the 18th. I will be in North Carolina, so I'll be recording from North Carolina on that day. Um, but what I was saying is that when Deej passed, or he was killed rather, and we did his memorial service. The one thing that touched, like really, really touched my heart was what everyone had to say about him
Mm.
and what he meant to others. His friends kept coming to me, Ma, he was like a brother to me. Ma, he would give the shirt off his back to anybody. Ma, he would help anybody who needed help. He just, he really reached out. I mean, he really touched like that, his community, I call his tribe in Wilmington, North Carolina, and that downtown community of young people who went to the bars. And that's a whole community. That is a whole community, and it never dawns on me how that whole, I want to say, like, area from like downtown Wilmington, like off of Market Street, from third, all those clubs, all those restaurants and bars. That is a community of individuals that loved and still love my son to this day. Because when I go back to Wilmington from time to time, when I travel and I go back and I go downtown, the bouncers, the bartenders, they see me, Ma, they giving me hugs, they embrace Ma, Ma, Ma. They all call me Ma. And from my son's death, I gave birth to two children, but I gained about 50 sons. sons and daughters. Okay.
That's a
Through
good
that,
feeling. Yeah.
it is a good feeling. It really is. So, but with that being said, you talk about the support, what support in grief really means. And that whole community really, and to this day, they support one another and they still support me when I come back to visit. It's the love, the hugs, the when I go back for his birthday, and it's in exactly 6 months. It's like 6 months from his death date and 6 months to his birthday. And I go back and they are there. When I go back to his memorial site where he was killed and we clean it up, his friends are out there. They help me clean it up and straighten it up, pulling weeds and refreshing things and putting down mementos for him at that memorial site. And that's a huge, huge support. Um, it's huge. It's very huge. I can tell you that, and it's so welcomed, and it's so, and I embrace it. I embrace it 100%. So, and with that being said, just know like grief is not something to be fixed. Okay, let's talk about that. Grief is not something to be fixed. It is it's a process. It is a feeling. It is it's anger. It's sadness, it's joy, it's happiness, it's denial, it's some of everything.
Yeah.
And it's not something like people, you cannot fix someone when they're grieving. You cannot fix an individual or tell somebody to stop grieving, and you can't do that. People try. They try to do it, but you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not wanted, you know?
No, definitely not.
It's not wanted. Like you don't have to fix a person when they're grieving, you know?
I think that's the common misconception, right? That, I'm just trying to help and, let me just figure out a way to fill in a gap or whatever like that. And you got people who just always a fixer. I could do it. I could do it. But yeah, like you said, there's no call for that. Maybe they want that in their life, a distraction more so than anything. I think maybe that's what a lot of people are looking to do, a distraction so they can put it in the back of their mind at the moment, because it's too difficult to try to associate with the loss at the point of, at right now. So they want to put it in the back of their mind. So when it comes up, they be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not going to emotionally affect me anymore.
Right. And they say true support. Like, what is true support? What does that mean to you? Like, it's presence and not problem solving? True support is what we talked about before. Like, when a death first occurs and the family is supported by people bringing food, asking what they can do. But I always say the biggest time when support is truly, truly needed is after the dust settles, after it gets quiet, and you really start mourning. That's when the support is very much needed. And at that point in time, that's when, you instead of asking that person what they need, how about, hey, I'm going to order a cleaning service to come in. Let me know what day's the best day so they can clean your house. Because depending on who the person is that has transition is whether or not you can clean your house or you even want to clean your house. Okay. How about you, the individual, come over and do a chore, do some laundry if that person, family member, friend allows you to do laundry, or cook a meal for them, or cook enough to where you can put it in some containers and stick it in the freezer. So when they're having a bad day, they can just pull that meal, pop it in the microwave, sit down, and call it what it is for that day. We think about support from employers when a death occurs, and and some employees do this, some don't. Depends on how, I want to say, how large the employer is. If it's a smaller employer where the employees are really closely knit, then it's the flowers that go out, the time off that you need. And I can say that when Darius was killed, I was working at a doctor's office, and they said they were trying to give me the time off. However, I'm the type of person, like, I was like, I can't sit still. It will drive me crazy to stay home.
Yeah,
And
she's thinking about it all the time now. You got no distraction.
exactly, exactly. But they were very supportive in knowing that, I wasn't all there. I wasn't all there to do the job. I was there, but my mind wasn't there. And they just were really gracious and gave me grace. And knowing that I needed the extra support, the extra help, the extra time, you know what I'm saying? To work through it, because I tell you, I went right back to work. I was off for 1 week. Thank you, thank you, thank you, TikTok. They over here meeting my goals. um, but they were supportive and gave me that. And then when my grandmother passed a few months after Deej, they sent flowers and gave me that support again. Wasn't like they weren't they weren't very strict about the time off that I needed. They were not strict about the time off that I needed, which is great. And I think about that because with some employers, they're so huge, they're so big. Like, who said 3 days is enough for bereavement? Help me understand that in the world. Somebody,
Yeah.
anybody, help me understand how 3 days is enough for you to put together a funeral and grieve or mourn and then return back to work. And then some of the policies I've seen, some policies, employee policies are good, pretty good. They're like mom, dad, brother, grandmother, grandfather, aunts, uncles. And then some just limit to when I say immediate family, mother, father, brother, sister. They won't even go past to grandparents or aunts and uncles when it comes to bereavement.
Yeah.
And the sad part of that is that the family dynamic is so diverse,
Right.
because it may have been grandma that raised you, it may have been auntie that raised you, or uncle that raised you, and you're telling me I cannot take off to go to the service, and I cannot take off time to mourn.
Right. Yeah.
Who
That happened. That happened with my cousin Kevin. Uh, he was in the Air Force. He was in Arizona, and then when he got the message that my mom passed, you know, like she was like more of a mom than an aunt to him. So
Mm-hmm.
he got in the car and drove across the country like a day and a half, just like boop, you know, trying not to speed, but when he could, he did. And I remember getting up, you know, after I got there, and hearing his sound system in the driveway. And I'm like, nah, that can't be him because he's in Arizona. I
Mm-hmm.
go outside like 5:45 in the morning. I knock on his window. He's like, yo. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, yo, I heard. So I just hopped in the car. I had to yell at my commander to let me go because it's an aunt, not a mom, you know. Yeah, that meant the world. You know, that really meant the world as far as support. You know, for you to risk your career just to, I mean, not just to, but in that aspect, you're like, man, you got to put it down. Like, no, I need you to understand. I'm going.
Right.
I don't need your permission at this point. Do
Right.
what you're gonna do, but I'm going. And yeah, to have that kind of support is a great thing. I mean, he's like a big brother to me more so than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just yeah, it was a relief to see him there, you know what I mean? For the
Right.
whole time. Because he was the one that grabbed me because I almost passed out. It was after the wake, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was standing at the door and I went to the door because it was like 7:45. Mom would come back from doing whatever she was doing sometime. And I
Mm-hmm.
look out looking for her car. And I realized she's not coming home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that moment that I let like 2 weeks after she passed, I let the grief come out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I literally, my legs went weak. And he like caught me before I hit the ground. And I'm like, it's crazy. I think like some people's reaction to loss is so grand that you forget in taking care of so many aspects of the ceremony, how you want to say, like the Garrett going home ceremony, however,
Mm-hmm.
that you forgot to actually start accepting it. And then once it starts coming in, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, the feelings hit, the emotions hit, and
Mm-hmm.
all the other feelings and emotions hit. And you find yourself up for like a couple of hours a days just trying to gain control over the emotions and the feelings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I look at some people and they just like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
next day, next I don't know. Like everybody does it a different way, and that's the one thing I appreciate you saying. Is like, yeah, there's no time frame on it. There's no time limit. There's no right way, wrong way to do it. You gotta get it done.
Right.
Happen with whichever way it's going to happen. You
Yes.
not know how it's going to happen until
Mm-hmm.
you.
Right. Right. And then like big sister Pastor George over here on my TikTok, she made the statement that there, there were people that she knew her entire life that did not support her family during the death of her mom. That is that's hard to deal with as well. Like people you've known your entire life, knew your family, knew that individual, or that individual was really a key player in their lives, and you get no support from that person to help navigate you through the grief, or just be there just to see their face. And like, what is that? What do you call that? Now, we can sit here and come up with all kind of excuses, or I would say, or things that we think, you know what I'm saying, may have taken place. Like maybe it was too hard for them. I
Right.
know of a situation where people just couldn't come to
Yeah.
a individual service, and it's like it was too difficult for them. But they may have sent flowers, they may have sent, made a phone call. And sometimes people don't even understand how a simple phone call, just a simple phone call, could ease your grief or mourning for that moment, right?
Yeah.
A
Just
simple
to
call.
the phone call with the memories, the good memories. To generally, the good ones will either make you laugh or smile.
Mm,
Those are the ones that I think are like the most needed because it puts that good spin on it. Anyway, go.
mhm.
Let me
It
interrupt.
does. It does. It does. It really does. Um, like and there are different needs for different people when it comes to grief and mourning and like being supportive. So there is no one size fits all when it comes to support of someone who's grieving. Um it's it's different because like you might have somebody who's extremely talkative, you might have somebody who's quiet, uh you might have a person that they crave the company, you might have somebody who just wants solitude and just comfort in their privacy. um my girl Sabrina, she's commenting here like, transitions are difficult for her because she says that she honestly doesn't know how to be there for the individual or their family. And even when trying to put her own emotions to the side to support them is just as hard. And that is true. That is very, very true. Like when you want to support an individual, what family member, friend, whomever, when you want to support that person in their grieving, like you have to put your stuff aside. You have to put your grieving aside to be with them. And it can be difficult. It can be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, very much so. I think like the regret part, especially if you went out, like you don't know how that person special in your life affected
Mm,
somebody else. They could have been on an out at that point in time, you know. And so they're like, I feel guilty. I feel responsible. Not responsible for their situation, but it's
mhm.
just like that guilt and those feelings of like I didn't finish. I didn't know I didn't have that time. It comes
Right.
back. That's a lot of stuff that I heard. It's like, oh,
Mm,
I wish I would have had more time to apologize, or I wish this I could have made up for that and this and that.
mhm.
And then you have to in yourself be like, you know, now that you tell me this, I really don't want to hear it. But like everybody agrees in their own way. And it's
Mm.
just like I listened a lot more than I reacted
Right.
until the actual weight. Then I reacted, but it
Mhm.
was just like one of those moments where I don't want to hear this right now because I'm going through my regrets on
Mm,
not being able to finish the relationship. Like there's no, it's that's the craziest thing I'm thinking about it right now is like when it comes to a relationship, there's no
mhm.
getting off the boat. I always think relationships are like ships. You're in a ship, rowboat, big ship, whatever. But there's no like, getting to like the fantasy island part where you get off and you're like, hey, bye. There's, there's no happy ending part to it. You just the ride just ends for one of y'all, and it's just like, man, I'm floating adrift. Like,
Mm.
how did this happen? Like, why did I not see this coming? Like, I thought I prepared, and all of a sudden, it's just like you're on that lonely road
Mm.
or lonely sail to the dock. Of
Mhm.
course, you're on a journey with somebody, but
Right.
it just
Right.
went astray.
And let's talk about like the myth behind support. Okay. So, like, the first myth is that you should know exactly what to say. You got to be kidding me.
Man,
Nobody knows exactly what to say to anybody who has lost a loved one. You don't know what to say.
just don't say nothing. Sometimes it's the best thing.
Sometimes thank you. It is best to say nothing. And like I said, big sister Pastor George, she said right. She said they sure don't. They say the worst things that are at the worst times trying to be helpful. You're absolutely correct in that.
The cliches.
Mm.
Those
Oh, they're
cliches.
gone to a better place.
Yeah.
They're not suffering anymore. Oh, we're going to pray to God that, you get strength. And you're like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
No. And then it's the time heals all wounds. Well, time and support heals and helps. Oh, strong people don't need help.
I
Um,
said that one.
that one, I think that one is like the worst of the worst. The
Yeah.
strong people don't need help. And then they don't say it. Okay. It's not spoken. That's one of those unspoken myths about support. Um, because, and I said this before about when my sister friend, her son, father-in-law passed away, and they practice under the Islam religion. The mother could not leave the home for about 3 to 4 months. Everybody else did everything for her: grocery shopping, paid her bills, while she took that time to mourn and grieve. And I said, I wish I had that. I wish I could have had that when Darius passed, and then my grandmother, because like I said, they were back to back. Deej was in May, and my grandmother was in September of the same year, 2021. So it was like I had to stop grieving Deej and stop mourning Deej so I could grieve and mourn my grandmother and then help my family get through that.
Yeah.
So there's that the strong, which leads me to, and we'll talk about that another time, like that compounded, and I mentioned that before, the compounded grief, that grief that's just built. It's a wall of grief that's just built because you're unable to process it and unpack it.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? You're unable to process and unpack it because you have to stop. At some point, you have to stop. Hey, Ash. Um, but yeah, you have to stop and start doing other things. You have to stop grieving to live life. You have to stop grieving to go back to work. You have to stop grieving to pay bills. You have to stop grieving to, you know, deal with
Engage.
children. You have to stop grieving if you're in a relationship to give your relationship attention. You have to stop to start your life again.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe where we are in society today, well, I'll say American society. You see the look on my face, right? Amer- an American society. We I'm surprised more people, you know what? And I mean, I'm gonna say no.
Go
There's a
ahead, Kurt.
host of us.
Let's say.
There's a host of us that are ticking time bombs, walking around, okay, and that are walking around this world, these United States of America, ticking time bombs because we have not, and I can say that I am one of those individuals who have not had time to really unpack the grief that I'm carrying for a host of people, a host of people, you know, um, for a host of people. So not just my mother, my grandmother, my son, my sister Danielle, my sister Siobhan, a good friend of mine, Courtney, friend of mine, Kurt. I mean, the list goes on and on. Family members. I mean, like if I keep naming, I'm running. I will run out of fingers and toes. I have to just start doing tick marks on the wall or on a sheet of paper. Um, yeah, and it is not It's not easy. It is not easy.
Never is.
Like I said, this, May is gonna be, it's gonna be tough. It's a tough month. Like I can tell you now, doing this today, it's hard. It is difficult. Okay. And talking and doing this podcast today. It is going to be difficult for the entire month of May. It really is. Each next Sunday is going to be difficult. When we come on the Sunday after, that is definitely going to be difficult because I will be in North Carolina and I will be in the process or probably just finish his memorial car meet. And then after that, because we got Mother's Day is next Sunday. So, but to get back on track, you know, it's let's talk about supporting yourself during your grieving process. Let's talk about that. Like sometimes the support you need most has to come from you, has to come from within. It has to come from yourself, and that has to, how you deal with it comes from what you know internally or what you know or have been taught on how to handle and what you witnessed on how to handle someone transitioning and how you grieve.
Hmm.
And I also, really quick say happy heavenly birthday to, big sister Pastor George's mom. And I know she's my big sister. I know she's going through it. She's been going through it like this week leading up to today. And we talked about that. So in my support, talking about supporting someone, I'm there to listen to her so she can talk to me. Okay. So she can talk to me and unload on me, and I can just hold space for her. And that's another way for support. Allow someone to just hold space. You hold space for that person and allow them to talk to you.
Yeah. Be that earpiece. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Just listen. And that's something we have to learn to do is just listen and ask for help. You know, ask for help sometimes and give yourself permission to set boundaries. Say no to going to events or having conversations or expectations. And I could say that I've gotten better with that. How do you feel about setting boundaries and saying no, Cousin Kareem?
Yeah, I think I've gotten better with that too. I think as you get older, you just like, nope, I'm not moving this boundary back. I said it, I meant it. If you don't like it, bye. It's like I just gotta put it towards people like that. It's I noticed that it's like that's where I realized that the support that people think that they are given is that's when you realize that they don't want to accept the boundary that you place them for. Like I had grief separating from an organization, large organization. You know, it might offend some people. I apologize. Well, yeah, I'll just apologize if it hits you the wrong way. But when I separated from the church, it was funny because I was so involved, you know, and people were like, "You're leaving? Like, why?" People, I get a phone call. People, how do you get my number in the first place? Like, I've known you for 7 years. You ain't never one time reached out, but now all of a sudden you calling me talking about, yo, why are you leaving? Why are you letting the enemy get to you with all this? Not. I'm looking at them like, first of all, I know we don't want to gossip, but you could start off like that. Like, let's talk about the realness of it. And then you start getting into it, and I say that, and they're like, oh, well, no. It's not like that. It's like, how do you know? Like, you weren't there. You're not the person I'm talking about or talking to, but, you know, why are you now interjecting your thoughts and your feelings on my situation? You said that earlier. It's like, don't interject yourself. Put yourself aside and listen to me. Listen to what I got to say and why I'm grieving or why I'm going through this separation. And that's another thing I think when we grieve, it's a separation between you and that person that you love, that
Mm,
thing that you love. We were talking about jobs, like I'm talking about the church. It's
mm,
like it was something that I truly admired and loved, and then I woke up one day and was like, a boundary was crossed.
mm,
And then you look back and you're like, the boundary was crossed many times, and I ignored it. And then you start doing an addition. Oh, it wasn't that I. It wasn't just one time. One goes to 15, 15 goes to 30, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, now I was abused, you know. And then you sit back and you're like, I let my boundary be moved, and yeah, it's not happening no more. I'm out, you know, and I can let go of that, and you can move on. But then you deal with the on the other side of it, you deal with the anger, you deal with the, you know, a lot of other things. But yeah,
mm.
moving boundaries, setting boundaries is
Right.
strong in life, and that's something that I don't know if you don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
You get your boundaries removed because, especially if you're a person like we are, who
Mm-hmm.
we like to, we're helpers. We like to help people. You know, I'm not an exhorter. I don't. I shouldn't say I'm not. I'm just low on that one. I don't big people up like, oh yeah, you can do it, great. You know, but some people, the people
Mm-hmm.
who can do that, you let your boundaries be moved aside for the other person, so you can help them, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel that you're helping them. But then when it comes back to you,
Mm-hmm.
it's like your boundaries are so far off that you can't defend your walls, and then you got to shrink it down to a point where it's directly around you. You don't let people in at
Mm.
some, and
Say
then
that
that,
loud for people in the back. He said,
yes,
you have pushed your boundaries so far back that you cannot defend your walls.
yep, it's a real thing. And then when you get to that point, now you start. That's when the anger hits on the regret. Is just the cause of the anger is because of the regret. I should have never let my walls down. I should have never let my boundaries down. You know,
Mm,
be moved. And then you're like, oh my goodness, like you mad at yourself. You're mad at them, but you're more mad at yourself. You
mm,
know, and then it becomes, do I forgive them? And then you say, wait a minute, how am I supposed to forgive them? People always bring up the Bible. Oh, forgive them, you know, 7 times? No, 77 times. How do I forgive somebody when they don't admit what they did wrong? It's
mm,
like, I'm forgiving you, but you don't know I'm forgiving you. I can even tell you I'm forgiving you. You're like, what you forgiving me for? I didn't do nothing. But they ain't, you know what I'm saying? So how do you forgive somebody when they don't know that they did wrong? If they know
mm,
they did wrong and they say, hey, can you forgive me? Okay, boom, we straight now. We on the same page. But
mm,
and then you look at it, the same wrongs when that said person that you love goes on, and you know they did that person wrong, and you look at them like, man, it was such they should have had more time. And you look at them like, for what? Like for so you can feel better? Anyway, yeah, I go down the wrong path. Forgive me, all y'all. Um,
he went down the rabbit hole.
yeah, yeah, there's some unresolved stuff still there, but
Yes,
it
it is.
happened
But it's
because
okay. That's why we have real conversation because, you know, like we said when we first started in discussion about this podcast and, you know, come having these conversations about grief. Yes, there are feelings, there are emotions that's going to come up that are unresolved. And this is part of the healing, and people who are listening to this podcast, this is part of the healing process. Not only is it healing for me, it's healing, you know, Auntie Mimosa, but it's healing for cousin Kareem,
yeah,
and it should also be healing for you as well, because this is where we are. You know, we are human
yeah,
beings. Okay. We are, you know, spirit, we have feelings, we have emotions, and our emotions, feelings about grief, again, one size does not fit all. We all have different beliefs and different opinions, and that's why we're here to talk, and that's why we're here to have this conversation about grief, and to give people a platform
speak.
to speak and express themselves, as well. So, and through comments, please comment. We ask everyone comment. We ask everyone to, you know, go back and listen to some of the past reels. If something resonates, hey,
Yeah.
let us know. Let us know.
It's
But
like a
look,
validation because
mhm,
I think a lot of people in their grief they feel guilty that they can't do at the time for other people. If
mhm,
you're a doer for other people, if you're a doer, not a sayer, I should say it
mhm,
like that. You know, that's something from that other world that I left too. Be a
mhm,
doer, not a sayer. And it's like,
mhm,
but when you become a doer and not a sayer, and people hold on to you to be that strong person, like you were saying earlier, and then for the first time, you can't be that strong person for them. Then they
mhm,
looking at you like, oh, see, you wasn't real. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, no, you do understand that everybody at some point has to go through it. And I think, like, I'm hoping that we get through to people with this podcast is to validate the fact that you don't have to know how to do it.
mhm.
That you can just be in that moment trying to figure it out, and it's okay. Don't
Right.
step on yourself thinking that I gotta fit into that mold, that box of what other people think I should be.
Mhm.
They got no control over you, and
Right.
don't give them that control over you to make you feel like you have to assimilate, you have to become set person in your grief,
Mm.
because that's going to hinder you from healing.
Exactly. 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 And people become tired mentally, emotionally, um, physically fatigued behind grieving and mourning. They, as Big Sister Pastor George says, you get depleted because you have nothing else to give.
Yeah.
Um, and in that, it's like build like how do you build a grief support system? Like, is that something you ever thought about, like building a grief support system? And in that, a lot of people hire therapists, go to therapy. Yep. Okay. Sure. You have your friends. During the pandemic, a whole lot of online therapists and online groups have, you know, showed up or created. Um, you have different, rituals and things that you may do. You light a candle for someone on their birthday, or you go to the gravesite, you visit the gravesite on their birthday or their death anniversary or the holidays, for support. um but I will say, like, when it comes to your therapist, one, interview your therapist. Don't just
Yeah.
go with the first therapist you select or you find. Interview that therapist. Is it a process? Yes, because you want the right therapist. Interview your therapist, before deciding exactly which therapist you're going to go with. Make
Yeah.
sure they're honest. And you may have to, and here's a question you may have to ask that therapist: if I get to a point where you can no longer assist me, will you let me know?
That's deep. That's deep. Yeah.
Okay. Don't keep bringing me into these sessions
Collecting.
knowing
Go ahead.
knowing you cannot help me, or you can no longer assist me because you want to collect funds for your business or for your practice. Okay. And that's the one thing I said this. I had this great therapist, wonderful therapist. I would recommend her to anybody. Dr. April Wells of Wells of Wholeness. Beautiful woman, beautiful. But she had the capacity and wherewithal to look at me and say, I can no longer support you and give you what you need in your grief. And she was the one that diagnosed me with the compounded grief, because she was like, you have a lot that you need to unpack, and I'm not able to help you with that. She was like, but I do recommend, other therapists. And I will say
That's
that
right.
I did not continue, or I did not look, because I just didn't want to continue. I didn't want to go through the unpacking of, and not necessarily unpacking. I didn't want to go through the rehashing of everything to get that therapist brought up to point, up to a certain
Yeah, you
point.
can start over again. I feel like a starting point again. You got to
Exactly.
go through all that just to get to the actually diagnosing and helping and stuff. That
Mhm.
might take another month. And you're like, man, that's when you start looking at your ducats and you're like, now I got to go through this for another month. That's another 4 visits or whatever. You know what I mean? You like, you
Mhm.
start thinking of it the wrong way instead of the right way. And then here you are. Yeah, I understand. I've been
Yeah.
through that. Mine
Right.
didn't end as well as yours did, though. No, I'm just saying it's like it was during the pandemic. You know, it was when George Floyd got killed,
Oh
and I got
goodness.
this Asian cat talking about. So how do you feel? I'm like, I feel stressed. You know, I don't live in the mainland, but I got family out there. Like, how am I supposed to feel if a young brother, cousin, uncle, whatever like that gets accosted by the police? Like, he goes, "Well, tell me how you feel." I was like, if I tell you how I feel, can you empathize? Have you ever been pulled over, first of all, in your life? He's like, no. I said, have you ever, do you know anybody who's been pulled over? You know anybody who's been arrested? He's like, no. I said, so how do you empathize with me right now? Or you just listening to what I'm saying? Well, I'm going to gain my understanding from you telling me.
Oh goodness. Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's certain things you can explain and you
Mm.
can try to, but unless you've gone through it,
Mhm.
you're not understanding the thing.
Right.
Just like if you've never lost a parent, a child, or whatever, a sibling, what do you? How are you? Oh, I understand. Really? Oh, because I've known you for like 30 years. I don't remember ever you losing somebody. And if you have, that shows how much we're not friends because you never expressed that to me. It's
Right.
like that's when let me bring this point up real quick.
Mhm.
That's when you decipher between friends and
Mm.
associates.
Mm.
Because when you start to go through something and you realize I'm sharing with you, but wait a minute, when have you shared with me? And that's that boundary thing where you're like, oh, I see where it is. You one of those drama people who like to take drama in, but you can't not share, but you know what I mean? It's anyway, that's a whole nother subject. It's just,
Oh my
this
goodness.
thing goes deep. I mean, yo, this
It
is
does.
monolithic deep.
It does. And that's why we're having these conversations. Grief is not a surface level conversation. We are
No.
going to continue to dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And as they say, it's like like that big old onion. You have layers that you have to continue to peel back and peel back and peel back and peel back. And as you continue to peel back, you discover something new each and every time. So what before we close, I do want to provide, excuse me, our listeners with some practical tips on when it comes to grieving. So, journaling, if you're a writer, if you like to journal, definitely have a journal. Please don't do like Auntie Mimosa. Okay. At one point, I used to love to journal. And like we said before, death changes, transition changes you depending on how it happens. It does change you. Um, I used to love to write in journals, love, have a host of journals. And I have journals now that I have not written in after Deej's death and my grandmother's death. I cannot bring myself to pick up a journal. So I'm being real. But for some people, it is a practical tip. Journal, write your feelings down. I used to do it, but I can't do it now. I get writer's block, but that's besides the point. Identify your anchor people, the people who are closest to you that you can call on, and they'll be there for you. And then, set tiny goals each day, like, drinking water, texting a friend, reaching out, taking walks, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Do
Yeah.
not be afraid to ask for help. So keep in mind when it comes to grieving and support, support is not about fixing, it's about presence. It's both giving and receiving. They are courageous acts of love. Grief does change, it does change, but it's needed for connection to remain with families and friends. So just keep that in mind that, grief is the price we pay for love, and support is the bridge that keeps us connected to life. Oh, excuse me, even in the depths of loss. So, with that, we will say thank you for joining us today on this journey through grief, healing, and remembrance. Grief is not something we just simply get over, it's something we learn to carry. It's something that shapes us and something that teaches us about love and resilience. As you move through your own process, remember to be patient with yourself. There's no timeline, no right or wrong way to grieve. Honor your feelings, embrace the memories, and allow yourself space to heal in your own time.
Yes.
If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to reach out, share your story, or let us know how grief has shaped your journey. And if you know someone who might need this conversation, please share this episode with them. Uh, Also, leave a review, remark, share something that might be insightful that we could talk about next time. And you're welcome. Mwah. Thank you, big sister Pastor George. So coming soon, if they're in it, matter of fact, sometimes we're bougie, sometimes we hood. Facebook page is up, and as well as the Instagram. But on Instagram, it's SBSH Grief. Okay. So look for us there. And until next time, be kind to yourself, hold space for your emotions. And remember, you are never, ever alone in this journey. You got Auntie Mimosa.
Got cousin Kareem.
And
Thank you.
Yes. And grief is love with nowhere to go. You deserve all the care in the world. So take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, indeed. Peace and hair grease.